Abubakar has just revealed that he will be ready to support Peter Obi or whoever emerges as the ADC presidential candidate after the consensus, whether the person emerged through consensus or direct primaries. He had just made it clear. The previous video I posted, a lot of newsmen asked Peter Obi if he will be willing to support Atiku Abubakar if Atiku Abubakar emerges as the presidential candidate. He didn't answer that question, but Atiku is clear here. He said that he'll be ready to support any candidate who emerges, either through consensus or through direct primaries.
So, the moment, if a consensus candidate emerges within the ADC coalition, would you step aside in the interest of unity?
No, it's not the issue of stepping aside, but would I support?
Right.
I think what would I say in the coalition is that we will the first option will be to work out a consensus. If that doesn't, of course, emerge, then we go for direct president. I mean, I will support anybody who emerges.
Right. So either a consensus candidate, and that's the first option.
Yes, that's the first option as far as the party is concerned. We will aim at consensus. If we don't get it, then we go for elections.
Right. That sounds like something that will be terribly disputatious.
I don't expect we will get to that level because we are dealing with really mature politicians and experienced politicians as well.
But you're also dealing with people with huge political ambitions.
Ambition, well, that's a different thing altogether. But we have all agreed that this is the way to save democracy in this country.
You now, of course, share that political space with figures like Peter Obi, Rabiu Kwankwaso, Rotimi Amechi, Nasir El-Rufai, Aminu Tambuwal, and a host of others. I mean, some would say that this is not a partnership, this is a rivalry waiting to happen. Because if you ask many Nigerians, their concern is that this might collapse under the weight of competing ambitions.
No, Charles, clearly you can see that there is a generational progression there. So, I mean, if people of my generation don't get it, the people who may get it next may be the next generation. I mean, clearly you can see a generational structure there, and it's deliberate.
Right. If it comes down to one ticket, which ultimately it'll come down to, will you step aside for somebody
there is no question of stepping aside.
What I'm asking, I want to ask you a direct question now. If it comes down to that single ticket, will you step aside for Peter Obi, for example, if he's more popular? Yes or no?
I will step aside for any winner.
Right.
Yeah.
Including Peter Obi.
Of course, if he is a contender, why not?
I mean, he was your vice presidential running mate. Would that make it a bit more difficult for you to accept him coming?
Why? What is difficult there is
well, I don't know. That's why
politics is either you go through democracy or you go through consensus. So
right.
What is there if he emerges through, consensus or he emerges through electoral process?
Right. Okay. Well, let me talk about when the election comes around in 2027. You'll be
Atiku Abubakar also revealed that this will be his last shot to contest for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is already 80 years now. After 4 years, should he lose this election, he will be 84. So he said this will be his last shot to contest for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay. Charles. And not only did you agree to do the interview, you insisted on coming to the studio to do it. So we appreciate that very much. Now, you've been a central figure in Nigerian politics for decades, and by the time the election comes around in 2027, you'll be 80. Respectfully, I mean, this may be your last realistic shot at the presidency. Does that make the stakes higher for you this time?
Certainly yes, because the stakes are higher because I believe that will be my last outing. And
so that's incontrovertible.
That's incontrovertible.
Fact.
That
okay.
Is.
Right. So beyond the fact that you have said conclusively that that'll be your last outing, why should Nigerians take that gamble on you now? Why should they believe that you represent the future and not the past?
I represent both the past and the future. Simply because we have seen various levels of leadership in the country, both young and old, and we're experiencing them. And I still believe that our expectations of the young leadership is below what we thought. And we believe, I personally believe, they require experience and they require tutelage from the older generation.
Yeah, but you don't have to be in power to give them that tutelage.
Sometimes you need to be.
I mean, you could be doing it now.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be, because what I was able to learn from President Obasanjo through his experience, I couldn't have learned it
But
outside.
Atiku Abubakar made
Right.
what I can now
But
call a
critics
blunder.
say
He said Jonathan was a decent young man, but inexperienced. How will you call a man who finished his second term, like two-term governor? He was the governor of Bayelsa State for 8 years. Then I think 4 years vice president. You calling him inexperienced? That's not true. So Jonathan is not inexperienced.
I know Jonathan Goodluck very well, a decent young man, but inexperienced. That I believe attributed, to his failure to manage affairs of the country, particularly when he was faced with challenges. So these are the type of things that we, in fact, what I would like to see is real leadership training of our upcoming and young generation politicians. I wish I could, under one roof, which is quite dangerous.
Right. Okay, you've run for president now, as we said, multiple times. Some have called you a perennial contender. I'm sure you've heard that yourself a number of times. And you are aiming to run again in 2027. What, if anything, makes this attempt different from the others?
Different in what way, Charles?
Well, that's why I'm asking you that question. What makes it different from the other times that you've run?
What makes it different from the other times is that you have a more broader coalition now. You have elements from APC, from PDP, from NNPP, from Labour. That makes it a much broader, coalition than what even happened in the past before. Yeah.
But for you personally?
For me personally, I see a lot of future, because within the broad coalition, you see people of my generation, you see people below my own generation, and down the line. So you can see clear, succession, pattern emerging. Yes.
Wasn't that the same thing that happened in what was the APC coalition?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I didn't see it in the APC coalition. I left.
So Charles also asked him, Charles of Arise TV asked him, what is different in this election? Because what made him believe that this time he will get it? Because he's saying this is his last shot to contest, because he's known for contesting every election cycle. So what made him believe that this time will be different? He's going to win. He said this is a broader coalition of ADC that we don't know if what they did yesterday, INEC recognizes it, because the convention, ADC National Convention that was done yesterday, their report has it that INEC staffs were not there. So we've continue to see every day, factional chairmen emerging from state and national level, claiming to own and be the landlords of ADC. So there is huge crisis. Someone said I shouldn't say there is crisis in ADC. It's obvious. It's obvious. So he said that there is elements from APC, PDP, Labour Party, NNPP. How many elements? Do you have a governor from APC that is in ADC? No. But in 2015, APC had many governors who decamped to ADC. APC has, in 2015, active senators, active or current senators, House of Arrest members, that decamped to APC. So there's huge difference here. In fact, I think the only active senator that joined ADC in Abuja, Ireti Kingibe, they already suspended her. So I don't know where he gets his indices or who gave him the statistics that he has a broader coalition here. ADC needs to get themselves. And based on how confident he's speaking, we know this man. He doesn't joke when it has to do with presidential primaries. For him to say that any candidate that emerges, he will support, it means that he is sure that he's going to win the ticket. We remember when he said during those PDP presidential primaries, I think so many years ago, he said he will get the ticket. Newsmen asked him, are you sure you're going to get it? He said he will get it, and he did. So I think he knows how to play the card. He knows how to play the chess. But let ADC and their members be rest assured that if anybody from the north emerges, it's a walkover for Tinubu, because this is a turn of the south. I don't know if they have come to that conclusion. If they fail to do so, it will be dead on arrival for him and whoever that will be supporting him. It's either Peter Obi or Kwankwaso or nothing.